State of Decay 3 is set to evolve the open-world zombie survival genre with new gameplay elements, including a focus on a cold, wintry setting where animals such as deer and wolves have become zombified. The game continues to build on the core survival mechanics of scavenging, base building, and community management. This installment will place even more emphasis on character development and community interactions, aiming to enhance the emotional impact of losing survivors during the apocalypse.
Every sacrifice we make matters and will never be forgotten.
Astropulse Reincarnation is a sci-fi third-person shooter and action RPG developed by Imaginary Studios. Set in a war-torn future Earth, the game explores a world drastically altered by a cosmic energy known as Astropulse, which arrived on Earth via a meteorite. This force triggered catastrophic changes to the planet's biological evolution, leading to the emergence of new species and civilizations struggling for survival. The game follows a young man and his companions as they attempt to defy a tragic fate.
Your past is a prison.
Blight Survival is an action horror co-op game set in an alternate medieval world ravaged by a mysterious plague. This extraction-light game allows up to 4 players to team up and face both human enemies and terrifying undead creatures brought to life by the plague known as the Blight. Players venture through a dangerous no-man's land, caught between 2 warring kingdoms to uncover the source of the Blight.
I feel too sorry. Keep looking.
Hunger is an upcoming project that has remained largely under wraps, with limited details available at this time. The game is rumored to delve into survival mechanics, possibly with horror elements intertwined. Set in a post-apocalyptic or dystopian world, Hunger is expected to focus on the struggle for resources and survival in harsh environments. However, no official trailers or gameplay have been widely shared yet, and the specifics about its storyline or exact gameplay mechanics remain speculative.
So hot that the stone melted. Before the old order died. And now you have come. And do you bring with you a new order? Or do you too possess the same gluttony that led to the end? I suspect we shall soon find out.
John Carpenter's Toxic Commando is a co-op first-person shooter that blends horror, action, and humor, heavily inspired by the style of 80s cinema. Set in the near future, an experiment to harness energy from the Earth's core goes horribly wrong, leading to the emergence of the Sludge God, a monstrous entity that turns soil to sludge and the living into undead creatures. Players take control of the Toxic Commandos, a team of mercenaries tasked with stopping the Sludge God and its horde of zombies. The Silent Hill 2 remake is a full reimagining of the beloved 2001 survival horror classic. The game follows James Sunderland as he explores the eerie and fog-filled town of Silent Hill after receiving a mysterious letter from his deceased wife, Mary. The remake retains the original's deeply psychological horror while enhancing the experience with modern graphics, sound design, and gameplay mechanics. Developed by Bloober Team, it brings iconic monsters like Pyramid Head and a haunting atmosphere back to life for both new players and longtime fans.
James Sunderland, a man who arrives in the dreary town of Silent Hill in search of his wife, Mary, who has written him a letter begging to see him again despite allegedly dying 3 years ago.
Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago. So then why am I looking for her?
For James and the player alike, this classic horror story setup of an amnesia.
No More Room. In Hell 2 is an intense co-op survival horror game where up to 8 players must work together to survive against endless hordes of zombies. Set in a zombie-infested world, players must scavenge for weapons and resources while dealing with permadeath, meaning every decision has serious consequences. The game features dynamic maps, proximity voice chat, and an evolving narrative that adds depth to each playthrough. With Unreal Engine 5 powering its graphics, it promises a terrifying and immersive experience.
Shit! Here they come!
Pioner is an upcoming first-person shooter MMORPG set on a post-apocalyptic Soviet-era island ravaged by radiation and anomalies. Players take on the role of a former Special Forces operative navigating a world filled with mutants, hostile factions, and environmental hazards. The game features both PvE and PvP modes, allowing players to explore, complete story-driven missions, or engage in faction warfare. Ill is a first-person survival horror game developed by Team Clout, set in a dark, nightmarish world filled with grotesque creatures. Players navigate grim environments, fighting terrifying enemies reminiscent of classic horror films like The Thing and games like Dead Space. The game features detailed environments and advanced physics, powered by Unreal Engine 5, offering real-time dismemberment and gory enemy interactions. Ill is expected to deliver intense, visceral gameplay with a focus on horror and survival. Trench Tales is a third-person shooter set in a dark, alternative world between World War I and World War II. The game blends action and horror elements, with players taking on the role of a lone warrior, summoned to a war-torn realm by mysterious forces. The player must uncover the reasons for their summoning, confront malevolent powers, and battle undead soldiers, all while navigating gothic landscapes filled with secrets and supernatural powers. Retrieval is an upcoming cinematic horror action-adventure game developed by 333 Studios. Players take on the role of Hannah Loche, the commander of a research team stranded on the distant planet Reincarnation. Set in a retro-futuristic base, the game explores themes of survival, friendship, love, and loyalty as Hannah uncovers the dark secrets of this mysterious world.
There's something we can do.
Killing Floor 3 is the upcoming installment in the iconic co-op horror shooter series developed by Tripwire Interactive. Set in the year 2091, the game plunges players into a grim future where the Horzine Corporation has created a bioengineered army of monsters known as Zeds. Players take on the role of the rebel group Nightfall, tasked with stopping this monstrous force and saving humanity. The game will maintain the franchise's beloved 6-player co-op format, with players working together to fend off waves of Zeds using an arsenal of powerful and destructive weapons. Into the Dead. Our Darkest Days is a survival horror game set in the zombie-infested city of Walton, Texas, during the 1980s. The game is a 2.5D side-scroller that focuses on shelter management, resource scavenging, and guiding survivors to safety while battling against the undead. Players must manage the needs of their group, crafting tools and weapons to defend against the increasing zombie threat while making tough decisions that affect the group's survival. Directive 8020 is a cinematic survival horror game set in deep space, developed by Supermassive Games. It is the first chapter of the second season of the Dark Pictures anthology. The game follows the crew of a colony ship, the Cassiopeia, which crashes on a distant planet 12 light-years from Earth. As they attempt to survive and complete their mission to save humanity, the crew faces terrifying alien threats, including a shape-shifting alien that can perfectly mimic humans. Save Birmingham is a medieval zombie survival game set in the 14th century Birmingham, England. The game challenges players to survive in a city overrun by the undead, using only basic medieval tools and their wits. There are no modern weapons, so you'll rely on objects like pitchforks and physically interactive environments to outsmart and fend off hordes of zombies. The game emphasizes realism with physics-based mechanics, allowing players to use their surroundings creatively, whether stacking objects to block doorways or triggering traps to slow down enemies. Light. The Beast is a standalone game set in the Dying Light universe. Originally conceived as DLC for Dying Light 2, it has grown into its own full-fledged game. The story takes place in Castor Woods, a rural area overrun by zombies. Players once again step into the shoes of Kyle Crane, the protagonist from the original Dying Light, who now possesses monstrous abilities due to brutal experimentation. The game focuses heavily on survival mechanics, including weapon durability, limited resources, and the ability to transform into a beast to fight off hordes of zombies. Dread Dawn is an open-world zombie survival game where players find themselves trapped in a quarantined city after failing to escape a virus outbreak. You play as a student who missed the evacuation convoy and must now survive in a metropolis teeming with the undead. The game emphasizes exploration, resource management, and camp defense as players scavenge for supplies and navigate through the city's dangerous environments, such as hospitals, schools, and subways. Atomfall is a survival action game set in an alternate history where the Windscale nuclear disaster has turned parts of northern England into a hazardous quarantine zone. Players must explore, scavenge, and survive in this dangerous environment filled with strange characters, rogue government agencies, and eerie folklore. Developed by Rebellion, the game combines elements of mystery, crafting, and combat. It draws inspiration from games like Fallout and Stalker, while also incorporating classic British science fiction themes.
Please be careful. It's more dangerous than you can possibly imagine.